Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to pull out the key insights from, well, a whole stack of sources, really, to get you informed quickly. For years now, the fashion industry's public image has been all about inclusivity, diversity, opening doors for new voices. It's this picture of constant progress.
Right. That's the narrative they put out there. But as our source material today shows pretty powerfully, that carefully built image, it often clashes with a much, let's say, bolder, more unfiltered reality experienced by some.
Exactly.
So today, we're diving deep into the story of Gracie Opulanza. And our mission really is to unpack how an industry claiming inclusivity can, well, in practice, end up silencing, erasing, and sometimes even physically shutting out voices that disrupt the status quo.
Which makes you ask, what does genuine inclusivity actually look like beyond the PR?
Precisely.
And look, this deep dive is for you. If you're curious, if you want to get past those public statements and understand the sometimes surprising facts underneath, especially in a world as influential as fashion, then yeah, this is for you. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're going back to 2013. Gracie Opulanza launches MenStyleFashion. Now, what's fascinating here is that she was doing something, well, pretty much unheard of at the time.
Totally unprecedented.
Yeah. Think London Fashion Week men's. Gracie just walks in, camera ready, totally fearless, and starts interviewing major players, David Gandy, Dylan Jones, Tinie Tempah, Dermot O'Leary.
And this is the critical part, I think. This wasn't like some staged interview with questions vetted by PR teams.
No safe lines.
None. It was raw. It was real. And crucially, it was completely on her terms. She didn't ask permission, didn't go through any gatekeepers. She just built her own platform, went for it.
So the sheer, I guess, audacity of it, that was the disruptive element. Here's this woman building her own media outlet, talking directly to these huge male fashion figures, using her own voice. Totally unfiltered, not waiting for a green light, acting outside all the sort of established rules. She was basically poking a system that just wasn't ready for that kind of independent force.
So with an entrance like that, you have to wonder, right? How did the industry, the establishment, react?
Well, that first season, apparently there was some curiosity. Bit of a buzz, maybe.
Yeah, whispers. But then, by the second season, things shifted. The British Fashion Council, the main governing body for UK fashion and their whole PR network, the people managing access and media, they really clocked her, as the source puts it.
Right, and that raises a big question, doesn't it? What happens when someone independent starts growing, maybe too fast for the established powers to, well, control?
Well, their unhappiness became pretty clear. The source material points to a few things. One, she was just getting too much attention, and it wasn't attention they orchestrated. Two, they specifically mentioned her 20 branded umbrellas promoting MenStyleFashion right there on the ground. That was seen as like breaking the approved press rules.
So direct promotion, bypassing them.
Exactly. And fundamentally, she was just growing faster than they could sort of manage or, regulate.
So when an industry feels that control slipping because of an independent voice, what kind of tactics do they use to try and rein things in?
Well, it seems like it was a deliberate strategy of exclusion. Emails started going unanswered, getting press passes, which are absolutely essential for access, suddenly became much harder for her.
The doors start closing?
Yeah, slowly but surely. Staff who might have been friendly before turned cold. It was like this gradual, consistent pressure designed to just push her to the margins.
And then came that really quite shocking incident you mentioned earlier at a Topman event, right? Yeah. Big menswear brand.
Yes.
She was actually physically manhandled by security.
Yes.
And pushed out of the venue.
That's what the source describes. Pushed out.
Just let that sink in. I mean, that's an extreme reaction against a journalist who's just there covering menswear. Pushed out for doing her job, for innovating, just for being visible on her own terms.
It's deeply ironic, isn't it? An industry that sells itself on being cutting edge uses such a, blunt and physical method when faced with something genuinely edgy and unpredictable.
Okay, so that was rough, and it was a decade ago. But fast forward, what about now, 2024? Has the industry changed? Has it learned to embrace these kinds of disruptive voices, or does that pattern still hold?
Well, if we connect the dots, the pattern unfortunately seems to persist. Just this year, Gracie was apparently denied access again, this time at Pitti Uomo, which is a huge international menswear show.
Wow, still.
And according to the source, she sent video evidence, filed a formal complaint, and waited. The result, silence. No reply, no apology, no acknowledgement.
So this isn't just some historical anecdote from 2014. It suggests something more deeply ingrained, maybe, an ongoing issue.
It certainly points that way.
So if we boil down Gracie's core argument from all this, it sounds like it's this. Fashion loves to talk about inclusivity, sure, but maybe only when that inclusivity is, neat, tidy, predictable.
And profitable for the existing structure.
Right. But a woman with a truly disruptive voice, someone who doesn't quite fit the pre-approved picture, it's almost like they'd rather just pretend she isn't there.
And this pushes Gracie to ask some really provocative questions, doesn't it? Questions maybe we should all think about. Is it because of how she looks? Is it because she's a woman making waves in a traditionally male space?
Or maybe not from the right background or clique.
Could be. Or is it just because she's Gracie Opulanza and the bottom line is they can't control her? They can't control her platform or what she says.
Yeah. What her whole story really throws into sharp relief, I think, is that tension. The gap between the public face of openness and this deep-seated resistance to real, uncontrolled change.
Mm.
Fashion says it wants innovation, diversity, women, media.
Mm.
But maybe the unspoken condition is only if it's on their terms.
And that really circles back to why Gracie started MenStyleFashion to begin with, doesn't it? The source says mainstream fashion, despite all the talk, just ignored her initially. And now, 10 years on, even with her proven impact and influence, they're still trying to ignore her. Why? Probably because she's become too significant, too powerful for them to just brush aside comfortably.
So this message really extends beyond just Gracie, doesn't it? To you listening right now, maybe you're an outsider in your field. Maybe you're a woman with a vision they're trying to sideline. Maybe you're any creative who's been told to, tone it down or play the game to get ahead.
Yeah.
Gracie Opulanza's message, her rallying cry, it's pretty clear and unwavering. Don't change, don't shrink, don't stop.
It's powerful.
Yeah, their silence, their exclusion. It isn't actually about you or your worth. It's about their fear of what you represent, fear of the change you bring. You're the future. You're the new media. You're exactly what makes them uncomfortable. And the thing is, she's still out there, still standing, still filming, still asking those difficult questions they seem unwilling to answer. And she puts it so bluntly. If you think fashion is genuinely inclusive, well, you haven't walked in my stilettos.
It's a strong closing line. And maybe it leaves us and you with a final thought to chew on. Think about Gracie's experience being pushed out for shaking things up in fashion. How does that compare or contrast with the challenges innovators face in other established fields?
Like tech or publishing. Academia, maybe.
Anywhere, really. What does her specific story tell us about that fundamental conflict, that inherent friction between established systems, whatever they are, and real bottom-up grassroots disruption? That tension seems to exist far beyond the runway, doesn't it?